I don't have any kind of presentation other than I'm just
Right.
gonna tell everybody what it is.
And
but-
we can,
And then we
and
do
we
a
can,
town hall, so they're gonna see me again.
okay, well, good. We'll go ahead. But
By then they really will be sick of me. Hey, everybody, I'm not gonna take much of your time because I get off quicker than you will get off quicker tonight. So, I'm Steve Laws, and I'm the EDLS program coordinator, if you want to call it that. I only am that because I'm the only full-time person doing EDLS. And
Dr. Laws, hold off just a second. Mary, Michael, Emma, and Arius, if you can, let us see your face while I'm going to need to see you anyway with our class tonight. So if you can, let us see you. Thanks, Mary. Michael, thank you. Okay, thanks, Arius. Emma, you there? Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, Dr. Laws. Go ahead.
all right. So what I asked Dr. Stedman for, and I did last night with Dr. Stone's 605, was just an opportunity just to introduce the EDLS program. You've heard probably something about it before. We have a good number of MELS completers, both the master's MELS completers and the add-on completers, that choose just to keep on going and do the EDLS program and the doctoral program. So I just wanted to kind of introduce it to you tonight. I'm also going to chat, give you my email address and my phone number if you want to receive a handbook. You can email me and I'll send you a handbook. If you want to talk to me about the EDLS program, you'll have my phone number. So I'll put that on there as I get ready to leave tonight. But the EDLS program is a 6-semester doctoral program. And we are aligned with the superintendent standards, but it is not a superintendent development program. It is a leadership program. And so I want to make sure that we distinguish that, but we use the superintendent standards. And the superintendent standards are not that far different than what your standards are that you're doing now for the principal, school-based leadership standards. So, but we align with that, and we do an evidence for each class, just as you do in your MELS program, that aligns with one of the standards. So that's the coursework we do. Most of the classes are well, they're all Zoom. We call it low residency. We do Zooms, probably 6, 7, 8 Zooms during the course of a semester, all on a particular night of the week. And then we do 3 weekends face-to-face. The weekends are Saturday, usually about 9 o'clock to 3:30 or 4. Sunday, typically 9 o'clock to about 2 o'clock. And but you usually are out before 2. We don't stop for lunch on Sunday so people can get on the road home. There are 4 sites that we use for our face-to-face. We do the main campus where I'm sitting right now, which is in Boiling Springs, North Carolina, just about 50 minutes west of Charlotte, on the South Carolina border. Then we have the Charlotte site, which is a building on 77 South, right before you get to Carowinds, if you're familiar with that. We have a Thomasville site, which Thomasville is located, we do it at Davidson-Davie Community College. Thomasville is right in between Winston-Salem and Greensboro. And we have a Goldsboro site, which is just south of Raleigh. So those are our 4 sites for the face-to-face offerings that we have. And we have a really neat cohort model that I think has Stedman's been with cohorts, and Dr. Revis has been with cohorts, and we're going to talk about the coaching here in just a second. She is one of our dissertation coaches, and she can answer some more questions about that. But that's how we structure the classes. Are strategic leadership, curricular leadership, human resource leadership, the research class, policy and ethics, and managerial leadership. Those are the courses along the way. And when you enter our program, if you would choose to just continue, so you finish MELS, I guess this month, or first week in December, whichever it is. And then if you chose to join us in January, then you'll be in the coursework for strategic leadership, which is a first module, and we align you with a dissertation coach from the very beginning. And so you're going to have a 1-hour seminar with the dissertation coach. And it doesn't meet often, but it meets enough to get you started with your dissertation. And we do that each semester. And so you're working kind of concurrent, doing your coursework and your dissertation work as you go, with the goal being that our students, by the end of coursework, at the end of the 6 semesters, that they are at least ready to propose. And the proposal is the first 3 chapters of your dissertation. A dissertation is 5 chapters. So that's our goal, so that everybody who's in our program, and it doesn't work out that everybody's able to because life happens, but our goal is that everybody graduates within 3 years. And some do less than 3 years. Rebecca just finished her dissertation, finished in 7 semesters. So she had 6 semesters of coursework, and then 1 additional semester. And that's how long it took her to finish her dissertation. She just finished. So it can be done. It's not usual that it's done, but it can be done. And so, and you've heard Dr. Revis mention one of her students. And so and Dr. Revis has finished coaching 1 group, and now has picked up another group to coach. So I can tell you, as much as you love her, you will not have her as a coach because she can't take on any more coachees. But she also can tell you how the coaching process works. And it's been quite successful for us. And so our professors are all practitioners, and so your adjuncts are all in central office work. There's only one of us that is old like Stedman, and that would be me. And so because we're contemporaries, Steve Stone, if you've had Steve Stone, does teach in the EDLS program as well, but he teaches in MELS as well. So he's not full-time with us, but the rest of our folk are adjuncts, and they are in central office roles, so that we're pretty much in step with what you are battling on a daily basis in your world. So I don't know what I've left out. I just wanted to introduce it to you, and I hope you'll consider continuing. We get this semester, we started 5 doctoral cohorts, which is a record for us. And I think I was talking to Dale earlier this week, and I think 30 of the 56 people are just people who kind of almost kept going with MELS. So you're on a roll. That's the good part. You're kind of used to it. The bad part is you may be tired, but you also have an understanding group of professors, and we will work with you on that. So your next question would be, somebody's thinking this, and probably all of you thinking this, how much does it cost? So I'll go ahead and tell you, it costs about $36,000. It's going to be a new car. And my statement to you is this: it's up to you whether you want to do it or not. When I did mine, I finished in 1997. I had no thought that I would be a superintendent. I was a high school principal. I was happy. And my faith is the Lord opens doors. I don't know how it happened. Somebody was crazy enough to hire me, but I ended up being a superintendent for about 13 and a half years. And then we needed to retire and come take care of my mother-in-law. And then for some crazy reason, Gardner Webb hired me. I could have gotten a superintendency without a doctorate. I know I could not have been a college professor without it. And so, you never know what may happen in your life. And that would be why I say you should consider it. But 36,000 is 36,000. I'm not going to, I'm not going to say anything positive about that. It's just what it costs. But Dr. Revis is adjuncting with us, and she's able to do it because she has a doctorate. Dr. Stedman is adjuncting with us. He's able to do it because he has a doctorate. And obviously I'm blessed to be able to do it. So can I answer any questions for you tonight?
How many of you are possibly interested in having another conversation one-on-one with Dr. Laws? Anybody, have you thought about this? Okay, no,
I can't get the chat thing to work, can I?
Nari, there are not scholarships available for this, no. I'm sorry. Okay, Erica, you said you might be interested.
Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about it. So I have a friend that's doing it at this time and has enjoyed it.
Okay.
I was gonna ask, are they still doing the Foothills commitment with it?
Yes.
Okay, because
Yeah. Does that mean you're nearby?
Yeah, I'm 2 miles from Gardner Webb.
Well, there you go. Yes, the Foothills thing it is for the rest of you to know. There's a Foothills initiative that was put in by Dr. Downs, our president, that is the 4 surrounding districts to Gardner Webb. It's Lincoln County, Gaston County. We are in Cleveland County and Rutherford County. So it's one of those 4. So I guess you, Erica, you are in Cleveland County then.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, and so I've got 2 Cleveland County folk in my cohort that's meeting this weekend. Topher Dow and Katie Barbie, but we've had plenty of others. So we've got Amanda and I'm trying to remember all of our folks. Terry, we got a bunch from Cleveland County that are in, and
okay, Stephen, if you would, you said you wanted more information, so Dr. Laws is going to put the information in there for you to reach out to him and just schedule a one-on-one and talk with him more about it.
Yeah, you can call me. There's the cell number, and anybody else, if you have if after you get home and you think about it and you say, I want to hear more, any of you, the email address, if you just email me and say, I'd like a handbook, or if you want to talk to me or text me, that is my cell number. I would appreciate any opportunity to do it. I will tell you, we have a good time. We laugh a lot. But we also take it very seriously. And but the stories are, you folks live every day just saying you can't make this up. Your days are just unbelievable. And so when you are together with a cohort, the stories just, it's almost a can you top this thing. And it's very, it's the only way you can survive sometimes. So we do appreciate that. I hope that you will consider it, and again, after you go home and have time to talk to your families or think about it yourself, if you want to learn more, then please do get in touch with me. I will be on sometime when Dale does his town hall things on Monday, so you unfortunately will see me again, but unfortunately for you, not for me, but if I can help you in between, please let me know. I've taken a lot of your class time. I apologize for that. I appreciate you letting me do it, and I do hope you think about it.
This is important, and Dr. Revis and I both know how to get in touch with Dr. Laws. If you don't get the information, just reach out to us, and like I said, we can talk to you more about it as well because we're familiar with.
Yeah, they're both very familiar with it.
Highly support it, so highly recommend it. So
thank you, everybody, so much. Good night.
Thank you, Dr. Laws. Okay. Okay, let me go ahead and share my screen. Well, welcome, and we do hope you'll think about it, and it's okay to reach out to Dr. Revis and me after you've had time to think about it. If you need some more information, whatever, we can put you in direct contact with Dr. Laws, and he's a fun person to work with. So just consider it. Anyway, welcome to week 11, and thank you for working with my mixed up week last week. It was a week like none other. But anyway, thank you for working with Dr. Revis last week. And Dr. Revis, thank you for taking over the complete class for me in my absence last week. I was doing school business still. I was with a community college, and I was in New York. I will confess, I did get to see a Broadway show, and I did get to see my son who lives in New York. So it was all good, but thank y'all for working with us. Want to touch base. Well, this is what tonight's going to look like. We're going to start out this evening with talking about our assignment 8, our strengths-based leadership assignment. Very pleased with with the work that has come from that. We're going to talk about that more. Then we're going to just go back and give Dr. Revis an opportunity to reach out to you about assignment 11. If you have any questions at this point, or anything that she may have thought about that she needs to say, I'm going to ask you, we're going to talk about the PSYOP, where we are and where we need to be by the end of this week, and especially by next week. We're going to talk about that. And I've listed information on here about when things are due. You can find this in your Blackboard shell under week 11. Who is, see, we don't have, Philip is not here. Let me see. Shay, you made it. Good. Okay. So I think we're good to go then. Well, let me tell you how I want to do this. The Strengths-Based Finder book was divided basically into 2 sections. The first part was basically talking about all of the areas that the scenarios that I gave you that you had to respond to. And then the second part was actually talking about the assessment itself, leading into the assessment that you took. One of the things, I don't know if you took the time to look in the back part or not, but one of the things that you need to pay close attention to when you're reading professional materials is, not everybody's, not what everybody has to say is not always valid and reliable. So you need to be careful, even in doing your research, to just because it's there doesn't mean that it's always good. So you need to be able to determine at this stage, whether research is truly valid research, if it's reliable research, and there's lots of ways to determine that. First of all, the strengths-based book has been around for a long time. The research has been around a long time, and one of the things that should have really stood out to you if you read everything in here, what would just reading the book, why would you say that the research in here, the book, the materials that you use are valid and reliable materials? What would make it valid and reliable? Can anybody answer that? It's not a trick question.
Is it repeatable?
Okay, that's it. Who was it developed by? Based on the work of who?
Gallup.
Gallup. The Gallup polls have been around forever. So that in itself, you know, that in itself determines validity as far as I'm concerned. But if you look in your books on page 239, this or 237, that actually talks about the research. And in that, and I'm not going to read it, you know, for time's sake, but it talks about the theory. It introduces the Clifton Strengths Finder, what it is, you know, based on the work of Gallup, how they actually did it, how did they determine the information that was gleaned for the actual assessment. All of that is in there. So this is good stuff. It's good information. And it all leads up to the actual you know, why there's 34 themes that you know, when we talk about your assessment, you know, the 34 themes that you identify from. Can anybody tell me, and again, this is not a trick question, why would we even have you to read this book or to to engage in this assignment? What was the purpose of it? And think of yourself as a leader, as a growing leader. What is the purpose of it?
Dr. Stedman, I think self-reflection.
Self-reflection, that's good, Matt. That's one of the things. And when you say self-reflection, let's dig a little deeper. Self-reflection as it relates to what?
Leadership. All good leaders have to know their strengths and weaknesses in order to lead people.
That's good. Let's take it a little bit. Let's take it a little bit deeper. Now, Shay, you're into athletics, and you look into with the players. Let's say you've got a girls basketball team, and a varsity girls basketball team. To determine, there's positions, am I correct? There's different positions, but you're not going to put anybody in just a position, are you? You're going to determine their what?
Their strengths.
Their strengths. That's what
their skill set.
Their strengths. And you look up and what's another word with athletics that you say, wow, that person certainly has a lot of talent.
Right.
So all of you as leaders, you have innate talents, things that I'm looking right now. I can see Matt, I can see Rebecca, and I can see Shay on the screen right now. If I scroll down, I can see the rest of you. But there's things about Matt that are unique to Matt, that are unique to Rebecca, that are unique to Shay, and I could go on down the line. There's commonalities, but every one of you, there's going to be something unique about you, and that helps mold and make you the leaders that you are and that you're going to be as well. So that was the purpose of this, is to help you identify with those things that are already there, and there should have been some surprises as well. And you know, the other areas are areas that we have to work harder at, and we have to develop. I'm not going to say any more about that. I want to hear from you. And this is not to go back and regurgitate everything that you did on your record, on your video, but I'd like to go back to the 9 areas that we had to respond to, and I'd like to spend just a few minutes just looking at those areas. Let's start with number 1. Stephen, if you would talk about this, and again, I'm going to give you no more than 2 minutes at the most to talk about it. It says, discuss the differences between a leader and a manager. And it says, citing valid research in the discussion. In other words, what does the research have to say? Talk to me. What have you learned about what is the difference between managing something and leading something?
Whenever I met with my group member and answered this question, the one thing that I said was, for me, being a leader was leading by example, showing someone that this is the way that you're supposed to do something, being able to guide them, direct them, and show them something concrete. Whereas managing is just making sure that a task is completed, overseeing something, making sure that the process is went through. For me, coming from a leadership background, I've been in leadership before, so the way that I deal with my staff, whenever I needed something to get done, I showed them by example, and I made sure that they understand I too once was where you were. So I understand the stress that you're going through, and I was able to identify with them to build that bond and that trust, so that they will want to listen and want to. But I've also been in a position where I had to manage a task get done, and it was literally just a process of, oh, this is the task we have to do. These are the steps that we need to take to get it done. Let's just make sure we get it done. So that was a distinguishing factors for me.
Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you think you can be a good, can you be a good manager without being a good leader?
Do I think I can be a good manager?
Do you think
without
someone
being a
can
good
be a,
leader?
do you think someone can be a good manager without being a good leader?
I think in order to lead, you have to be able to manage to a certain extent. If you cannot manage, then there's no way for you to be an effective leader.
Okay, but to go back to my question, I was going to get to that. Can you be a good manager without being a good leader?
See, for me, I think
good.
it's a trick question, because you can manage a situation without necessarily being a leader.
Okay, you just answered it. That's what I wanted to hear. You can be a good man. You can be a good manager, and you don't have to be a good leader. But
Right.
do you think you can be a good leader and not be a good manager?
Absolutely not.
Okay, that's what I wanted. You got it. It wasn't a trick question. I was just trying to get you to think. Anybody disagree with me on that, or Stephen on that? Anybody? Okay, good job, Stephen. Let's go to number 2. Let me see who, Rebecca. If you spend your life trying to be good at everything, you will never be great at anything. Talk to us about that, Rebecca.
It's kind of funny. I went to a program about being a leader in my county, and the assessment coordinator said that she is a jack of all trades, so how did she put it? She wasn't a jack of all trades, but she was the master of the realm. And it hit me with this question about, if you profess to know a little bit about everything, you're not going to be more than mediocre.
Right. Right. Anybody want to chime in? That's a good answer, Rebecca. And I like that. It's the master of the master of everything. Dr. Revis, help me out. What is it? The master of everything.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
Jack of all trades and the master of nothing. Thank you. That was it. That was it. It all means the same thing, Rebecca. That's
Okay.
good. Let's go to number 3. Mary. While he has spent much of his career in a leadership role, the vast majority of a boss's efforts have been focused on trying to mimic traits of leaders he has known or read about.
With that statement, obviously, if you are mimicking others, you're going to eventually lose who you are. The true self, your true identity. In order to progress and develop, You have to be able to hone in on your strengths and not mimic others.
Right.
And I was talking to my group about this particular statement, and we have an interim principal right now. So one day he came into my office while I was talking to a student who was having some issues, and it was resolved. It was a good session. But when the student left, he said, "Ms. Bates, I wouldn't have done it that way. Maybe you should have done it this way." So I was just telling him that, I appreciate his feedback, but that's not the way I would have done it. So had I, gone with his idea, that would have hurt me in the long run.
Mhm.
So the way I handled something is not the way he would have handled it. So
That's a great reflection too. I'm glad that you were able to make that connection with that. Okay, let's look at number 4. Matthew. Without an awareness of your strengths, it's almost impossible for you to lead effectively. Where'd you go, Matt? Okay, Matt will come back, I'll get him. Okay, Emma, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, Emma, respond to that.
Yeah, so there's a quote in the book that I used when I talked to my group mates, and I'm outside, so I'm sorry if you can't
That's
see me.
okay.
But there was a quote from the book that said basically it was like the Bob and Sarah anecdote, and it was like the one leader that Bob knows the least about is himself, right? And so when we're trying to mimic all these other leaders, and when we're trying to play to what we think people want to see and not an actual strength of ours, I think it comes off really inauthentic. And that's what my group and I talked about a lot, is that when you are not aware of your strengths, when you're not playing to what are your actual strengths, and you're just trying to mimic others, or you're trying to be the leader that everybody wants, and I say wants in quotation marks very heavily, then you're not leading effectively. At the most you can manage, right? It's like you were talking about, like a manager isn't necessarily a leader, but a leader has to be able to manage. And you're not going to be the most effective leader you can be if you're not playing to the strengths that you have, and then building a team that has complementary strengths to yours that aren't the same, but are at least complementary, so that you're hitting as many areas as you possibly can. And that's what I focused on a lot in my responses, is just when we have an awareness of what we're good at, we can build a team that's good at other things, so that there's always somebody who's able to pick up a torch that we might not be able to carry ourselves.
Right, and we have to realize that, Emma, that, we can't do it all. And you have to surround yourself with competent people that's going to lift you up and to make you look good. You have to realize that you cannot, that goes back that you can't be good at everything. You're not supposed to be good at everything.
Right.
Great response. Nari?
Yeah, I had a question because I like what they're talking about, and I completely identify with that. But my question would be, I guess to you, Dr. Stebbins or Dr. Revis, well, I guess I'm not really sure like where it would fall, but right now I'm in a correlate that I feel like is a sinking ship, and it's driving me absolutely nuts, but I'm trying to stay in my lane and not take over, but I want to take over because I feel like everything that's being done is being done incorrectly and their focus is off. And when I tell them, hey, this should be the focus and this is the direction that we need to go, I have people who are stuck in their ways and want to do it because that's the way they did it the last year and the year before. And I'm like, I can't walk away from it. And I really want to walk away from it because I'm just like, can I just take over? Can I just be the leader? Because y'all driving me nuts. So
have you discussed it with administration or with the whoever the curriculum?
I've discussed it. It's the PBIS correlate, and I've discussed it with the chair because I'm the co-chair.
Right.
And I don't want to like railroad her. And I kind of feel like I want to walk down the street and just kind of push her out of the way and say, okay, I got it. Don't worry about it. You do what you do and I'll do what I do. And we'll work it out. And I try to have conversations with her and she's fine, but it's just kind of one of those things where I feel like I'm staying true to myself, but I don't want to be the overbearing person who everybody's like, well, she just thinks she knows everything. But I feel like I'm on a sinking ship because they're not doing it correctly.
Okay. Dr. Revis, you have any response to that?
Well, I think we've all been there, Nyree, and I know I have. I think because you've gone through this leadership program, you've probably honed your leadership skills beyond the other person you're co-chairing with, and it makes you want to boot her to the curb. But you can't just kick her to the curb. We're all, it doesn't matter if you're a principal and then you've got bosses, you got people in the central office who tell you what to do, and we don't like what they're about. And I mean, you just gotta learn to live with some of that stuff. And I think when I was coming through administration, I was the first female high school principal my district ever had. And so I was in there in meetings with the good old boys, and they would say some things that would just blow me away. But I learned to bite my tongue, and I learned to only fight for things that were really worth fighting for. I could have been fighting for everything under the sun because some of those good old boys didn't need to be there. I'm just telling you. But I had to be very careful, particularly as a female, I think. As a female, if you can come across as being a witch with a B a lot of times, when if you were a male, you would be seen as assertive, and that's a good quality. But sometimes for females, that's a very negative quality.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you just have to read the room, and you got to find ways to work with people.
Mm-hmm.
And Nyree, all of you, remember this. I don't know, some of you probably, you may not be old enough to even know what Dr. Revis will be able to relate to it. Know Kenny Rogers' song, know when to hold up, know when to fold up. You've got to know that as a leader, or in anything, when to hold up and when to fold up. And this is probably one of those situations for you. You're trying to find or make your mark in the Cumberland County school system.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're treading on thin ice sometime because the eyes are upon you. And although your intentions are good,
Mm-hmm.
they may not be perceived as good. So if you rattle the chain too much,
Mm-hmm.
at this point, it could hinder you from growth in the system. So this is one of those things that but you put a smile on and you fold up instead of and hold up. You just have to do that sometime. So my best advice would be that just do what you can.
Okay.
And just stand still.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Oh, that makes perfect sense. And I will put that into practice, but I feel like it's bothering me because my name at the end of the day is on all of that stuff too.
Right. And Dr. Revis and I, we've been right there, and I have had sleepless nights, sometimes because of that, but I knew that it really was above my pay grade, and I knew that I couldn't, there was nothing I could do about it.
Okay.
Let's look at number 5. Erica, all too often, leaders are blind to the obvious when it comes to something of critical importance to them, their own personality. Many political and business leaders have self-concepts that are miles away from reality. They simply don't know their own strengths and weaknesses.
So with me and my group, we've talked about this, it came from another book and I cannot remember. I know Mary had it out when we were in class, but it was knowing the blind, the blind self. It was like the four.
The
blocks.
Johari window.
Yes, the Johari window. And we were talking about how, you've got to know your own self. You've got to know your own personality and how to work with it. Kind of like with Nairi, she knows herself, but she's got to figure out, which way she should deal with something. But they do, there's a lot of those people like political and business, they want to do so much more and they want to be more, I don't know, higher up than they should be or looked at differently so that they can get their points across, but they lose out on what they actually are and what their true personality is, and they lose themselves in it. And they can't be an effective leader if you're not going to, be your own self.
Right, that very well said. Michael, are you there?
I am taking by the Raiders.
Michael, can you add anything to that? What she just said.
So, for me, when I looked at this one, it was often just simply remembering where we come from, and not becoming too distant, just because of our position. I think sometimes we forget where we come from, and we forget those stressors that affect the people that we're leading, and so we don't really get to that level. So for me, it was just remaining humble, or helping them on that level, and just remembering the stressors that I had when I was at that level. So.
Right. Well, very well said. Thank you, Michael. Let's look at number 6. Areas. A leader needs to know his strengths as a carpenter knows his tools, or as a physician knows the instruments at his or her disposal. What great leaders have in common is that each truly knows his or her strengths and can call on the right strength at the right time. This explains why there is no definitive list of characteristics that describe all leaders. What did this say to you, Arias?
That self-reflection is important, and that when you are aware of your strengths and weaknesses, that you're going to be successful, whether those are your intentions or not. Like, it's just going to happen. So in one of the studies, it talks about how people who were aware of their strengths were able to build self-confidence, and then over their lifetime were pretty successful and so for companies. And so that's why it's so important to reflect and know oneself. And then ultimately, that's how you help other people grow, and that helps your company or your school or whatever business grow.
Okay, thank you. Very well said. Let's look at number 7. Number 7, Shay. While solving difficult problems is an essential part of effective leadership, identifying opportunities for the future plays a much more important role in creating hope and optimism.
For that one, my thought process is that in order to get people to your team to work hard and to give everything that they have, you have to make sure that you're not just focused on what's happening today, but give people hope that what they're doing is going to make a difference tomorrow, that what they're doing is very important, not just for the day as it is, but for everyone's future of what's coming up. Especially sometimes things can be bad, the situations can be bad, but you have to say, hope, hey, there's a light on the other side of the tunnel. Once we get through the storm, there's going to be sunshine, there's going to be light. Because once people lose hope, then you lose your people. Once their hope is gone, you lose your people. And then people become unproductive. They leave. They look for where there's going to be hope and something better somewhere else. And so they leave. They can get stuck in a rut. And when people lose their light, it's very hard to relight it again. I think it's on page 91, Gallup said the highest level executives reported that they spend most of their times reacting to the needs of the day instead of initiating for the future. And even, outside of education, like everybody's always looking at what they can do better. What can they become better? How can I be a better leader? How can I advance myself? And if you're not getting that in the job or the area where you are, you're going to look for it somewhere else. So good people will leave situations they feel like they're not going to be any better than what they are today.
Very well said. And I as I look at all of these, many of these things, I know you relate a lot of this to your role as a coach and as an athletic director. A lot of this stuff applies to what you would tell a team of players. Am I right? A lot of it. Yeah. Okay. Number 8. Let me see. Sasha. Leaders stay true to who they are and then make sure they have the right people around them.
For this one, I talked about more or less how this quote goes hand in hand with the first question, that difference between a leader and a manager. So as a leader, you know what you're capable of, you present your vision, and then you place the right people, your managers, in the right part of the vision to bring the vision to life. And not only will the vision be met, but as a leader, you'll be able to grow too, because you're going to surround yourself with the right people who are going to challenge you, who are going to make you think and work for your vision as well. So as a whole, it'll be beneficial overall.
Okay, very well said. And Nari, I saved number 9 for you. And after we talked, I actually had you down for another one, but I want you to respond to number 9 because you're thinking about this thing. What we've just said, this is very applicable to what you were talking about. The most effective leaders also get people to follow.
I just think that you can persuade people. My strength was communication, and I'm working on it. I'm really working on it with this correlate, but I do know that if you have an idea, you have to sell that idea. You have to make sure that people see the benefit to what you're trying to get them to do. So that not that it's just beneficial to you as the leader, it has to benefit everybody. They have to buy into the situation in order to follow you. If they feel confident and they feel assured that you're definitely going to take them through step by step, and you're going to delegate some of those roles, not take on everything yourself and try to tell everybody what to do, then more than likely they'll follow you. So you can be effective that way.
Okay. And I'm going to pick on you, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Think about this. You've almost solved your problem with what you've just said. You've just got to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know your personality, and you know you've got a strong personality. You know that it's hard for you not to show it on your face sometimes.
It is.
So with this individual, you continue to lead by example. You put a smile on your face and they don't know what's behind that smile, what you're thinking. And you do it, I think consistency is going to be the key in this. You don't back down. You continue to do what you can do. And that influence, hopefully, will take wings and fly at some point. I think you're on the right trail. You've identified it. You know what you're working with. You know who you're working with. So when you know and understand all of that, that gives you the opportunity to think about it more and to put your strategies effectively in place. But I think that if we had time, I think one day you would come back and you would say, guess what? This is what has happened. I truly believe that because you're going in the right direction with it.
Yeah.
So great responses on all of them. What I want to do now, and I want to just go around, okay, as it relates to the Strengths Finder assessment, I want you to talk about each one to talk about just briefly, first of all, what did you learn most about yourself from this assessment? And what was validated, some things that just spend, you can't go through the whole assessment, but I want to talk about, what, how are you going to be able to take this and as Matt said, it was a self-reflection to reflect on it, to see who you are, where you are, and how you're going to be able to take what you know and what you learned and move forward to become a more effective administrator. Everybody has to answer this. So who would like to go first?
I will.
Okay.
So, based on the results, my top 5 categories were achiever, arranger, woo, realtor, and futuristic. It did definitely validate the achiever. What I talked about in my reflection though was being an achiever. I'm the first one in my family to go on to college. And then of course the athlete in me said, I'm going to go ahead and get my doctorate. I'm going out with a bang. Now at the time, again, I wasn't really surrounded with educated people. So I didn't even know what a doctorate was. I just said, I'm going to get it because it's the highest, that's the achievement. That's it. That's what I want. And then when I sat in my first doctoral class, they're like, okay, this is a dissertation. I'm like looking at like this thick, I was like, I got to do that in order to get this. So it's kind of funny, but again, going back to that achievement, I was destined, that was my focus. I'm going to get it. This is where I'm at. And I couldn't fail because then people would look at me as a failure. I wasn't able to achieve it. So that's always been a part of my goals. I did achieve it last year. So that definitely validated that. One thing that did come up was the arranger. I work better when I have 6,000 things on my plate. If I get one thing, I kind of get bored and I'm like, oh, I got time. So with that, as a leader, I also need to be aware, not everybody is that. So just the other day, I was talking to one of my EC teachers that's under me. I'm like, hey, I need you to do X, Y, Z. And she's like, hold up, you need to slow down. That's too much for me. So being that is one of my strengths, I also was kind of like a reality check. Not everybody is able to do that. So that's one thing that, is kind of like a hip check to me, like, hey, slow down. Make sure you realizing what their strengths are too with this. So you're not overwhelming your followers too.
Okay, great. Somebody else.
I'll go next.
Okay.
So with mine, I had it pulled up because I was looking at it. My top 5 were a relator, input, learner, responsibility, and arranger. And the one that really struck with me is a learner, because that's not something that I grew up with. I was a homeschool student and was pushed kind of out of the way and told I wasn't going to achieve anything. And here I am, getting my second master's degree. So learner is a big one because I'm always out there to learn. I'm always asking my principal, what can I learn today? What can I do today to learn so that I can be an educational leader? So that's something that really stood out to me. And I'll be honest, I didn't realize there was all these different kinds of strengths that you can have. I just thought people had strengths and maybe they kind of knew it and they didn't. But I didn't realize what each one went under. Relator, I do relate with people, and input, I like to give advice. I like to help people. I'm trying to help a teacher right now, or a teacher assistant right now, get into Gardner-Webb so that she can be a teacher. I like to do responsible for things. An arranger, I'm like Sarah. I think is it Sarah or Sasha? I'm sorry, Sasha. I'm like her. I can deal with so many things at one time. I mean, I teach self-contained autistic children, K-5. I can handle 5 different things at one time because that's just me. I can handle that. So that one really stood out to me too, along with learner, just because I like to be in the middle of everything and I like to help with that everywhere I can.
Okay, thank you. Next person.
I'll go next.
Okay. Okay, Emma.
So my top 5 were harmony, individualization, context, intellection, and input. And I think that I was very surprised by my results because if I were to have self-assessed myself just looking at the like results, I would have put myself as achiever and consistency and all these other things in the executing realm. And then when I really sat and took the test and I thought about my answers, like deep down true to who I should, be, my results were completely different than what I expected. And I think that speaks a little bit to how much I've grown through my 2 master's programs. I have my master's in public administration and then getting this, master's as well. I've learned to be a very different kind of leader. And so instead of being the more like achievement oriented, brash, just going to get my goals no matter what kind of human being, I have really self-reflected and put myself into a position to think about others and to think about how others work well together and to become less of like an authoritarian, I'm going to achieve what I need to achieve, and more of like a team builder. And I think that has been, and I'm not trying to, get mushy or anything, but that's been the best part about this program is learning how to be a team builder versus just getting done what I want done, because there is a big difference in that. And that goes back to that manager versus leader conversation. And I think that, in my early 20s, that I was the achiever and I was the authoritarian, which there's nothing wrong with being an achiever leadership style, but I wasn't thinking about what team I could build around myself. And I really think that this program has helped build that.
Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I'm glad this is being recorded. I'll let Dr. Lamb hear that as well. Anyway, okay, next, who would like to go next?
I can go.
next. Oh, you got it.
Oh, sorry, Michael. You can go.
You go ahead. You go ahead. I'll go after you.
Okay. So for my 5, I had restorative, deliberate, consistency, context, and discipline. And I think a lot of times this does talk about me. I like to solve problems. I'm very deliberate with my details. Definitely consistent, because I also, like Erica, work with a lot of children with autism. And if you're not consistent, it rocks their world. Discipline, I am definitely a list person. If you give me tasks, I get them done. It's just in my mindset that I've got to know when and where to do things. But I think the thing I need to work on the most is context. The idea of living in the past. I think I do dwell on like my past memories and things that I've done and things that I want to always use that as a leaping pad to do better. But sometimes people can say that I'm dwelling on things that aren't around anymore.
Okay, well, but you were able to reflect and you saw a lot of you in what you did. And again, this is all a way of being able to what can I do to improve myself as well, as you reflect on it. Thanks, Rebecca. Okay, somebody else. Michael, you were next.
Yeah, I'm next. So mine's were, I was futuristic, positive, responsible, and restorative. And it was one more I can't think of on top of my head. The one that adaptability. And that one honestly surprised me a little bit, because I'm very much a plan ahead for the future, and have my steps in order. But I have learned how to adapt and the importance of adapting. I'm going to a training right now with my principal for North Carolina State leaders. And so the first session was about adapting and putting things that are important first, but also being flexible to, address the things that need to be addressed. So that one kind of shocked me a little bit. But overall, I agree with most of what they gave me. It was real eye-opening. And like I said, in my reflection, I've taken this a million times, just in undergrad and my first graduate program, and adaptability was never one of them. So I'm very proud of myself because I'm learning how to adapt and the importance of it.
That's great. Thank you, Michael. Okay, who's next? Okay, Nari.
I got communication, deliberative, maximizer, responsibility, and connectedness. And I really wasn't surprised by my results. However, with the deliberative, I can say that I've grown because when I first began teaching, I was very authoritative, even with my students. And I started to realize that that doesn't always work very well. And it was always, I'm the person in charge. You just need to do it because I told you to. So the fact that it came back deliberative, I have learned to think before I speak and take into account how someone else is going to feel about what I said, because I wouldn't want somebody to do that to me. I want you to take into account that, okay, how are you going to take in what I just said? So I usually will take time to think. I had a professor in my undergraduate who told me that I was going to teach math. And I said, no, I'm not. She said, yeah, you are. She said, you're very, what was the word she told me? She said that I can't remember what she told me, but basically it was, I took time to think about stuff. She's like, you're overthinking it and you're just overthinking the situation all the time.
Analytical.
Yes, that's what she told me. She said, I'm very analytical. I couldn't think of the word to save my life. But she said I was a very analytical person. And I said, no, I'm not. But the more I teach, the more I realize that I am. And so I actually got in contact with her and told her, I said, guess what? I'm a math teacher. I told her I was going to teach ELA. But yeah, I have really learned to just bite my tongue sometimes and not always say exactly what I'm thinking. Because like I said, sometimes you're leading with emotion. You want to lead with good common sense, because the emotion you can't say back, and somebody's gonna have something to say about that. So the deliberative thing, I would say it shows me that I have really, really grown.
Great, great. And you do understand what Kenny Rogers was saying when to hold up, when to fold up there.
Yeah, I know that song.
Okay, who else?
All right, my top 5 were relator, developer, connectedness, positivity, and discipline. All right, so the first 4 definitely is Mary. I'm the connector. Even teachers will tell me, Ms. Bates, you're the glue to the school, because often people come to me and, they need support, and I'm that go-to person. However, on the flip side of that, that can be very stressful, because people tend to come to me more than sometimes I have the capacity to help. On the other side, I do see that I need to give more input. I did not get any areas of strength in thinking, giving input. I'm working on that, making sure that I have great ideas. I need to make sure I'm sharing them. In fact, we had a meeting today, and Dr. Grayson, Ms. Bates, I see you thinking. What are you thinking? So he's even more aware that I want to make sure I'm, giving and not being, quiet in that sense of it.
Good, good. I like it. Most of you are saying, this, I'm learning this, and I know, but, to be able to take it to the next level is so important. Thank you for sharing that, Mary. Okay, Shay or Arius?
I'll go. My 5 from highest to lowest was input, responsibility, positivity, discipline, and relator. I thought that these were spot on for me. And it's always so interesting to me, because when I take these assessments, I always feel like I'm middle of the road when I answer it. And it's like, oh, this is going to give me a skewed result, but it's pretty spot on. I think that sometimes people, like when I saw the word input, I was like, oh, that's not me. But when I read their description, I was like, oh yeah, that's definitely me. And sometimes people feel like, I think people see it as a weakness, but I see it as a strength, because I feel like I'm able to enter a room and really listen to what people are saying, and gather all of the information and sort out what's important. Like, I don't get caught up in the details, but I'm able to zone in, listen, and figure out what's important. And I allow the team to figure out where we need to go versus me saying like that we have to do this, this, and this, even though sometimes my internal instinct is to say, okay, well, I already know how to do it. Let's do it this way. But I've really learned how to hone that in when I'm in group settings. The one thing that I realized this year, I never saw it as a weakness, but I need to work on is the relator part. My preference, I prefer small groups. Although I love working with different people, I'm okay in large groups, but I never, like, I'm really good at setting boundaries and I don't like to be vulnerable. And so it's, I need to start doing that as a leader. Because I think that you can make more connections and meaningful connections with people when you do that.
Good, great, Arias. Thank you so much. Shay.
Nothing of my, well, I was surprised, but for my top 5, I was not surprised. It was woo, communication, positivity, harmony, and adaptability. I was not surprised by any of those because, I mean, that's me. I'm the most extroverted person that I know, even in a room full of extroverts. I'm more extroverted than the next person standing beside me. And introverts hate me. In the morning, we sometimes have the speaker out in the hallway and they're like, give Shay the microphone. And the introvert kids will walk down the hall and go, stop talking to me. And I'm like, here, what's up? Saying dance. But that's who I am. And because I think that I can, I make people like feel that energy and they want to be a part of, you know, even I just say hi to someone like, hey, what's up? The other day, it's funny, but our Japanese teacher was leaving. I was driving over to the cab and I'm yelling out the window. I was like, what's up, Hottie? And she's like, what did you say? And I said, Hottie. And she's like, what's that mean? I said, you know, hot. And she's like, oh yeah, thank you very much. You know, and she just had this smile on her face like, oh, that was so sweet of you. She had no idea what I was saying, but once I, you know, explained it to her, she's like, yeah. So, and I think when I first read all those, I was like, oh, I don't have any of the qualities that I would say that a leader has, like the executioner, the achiever, the strateger, the whatever. And I thought at the beginning, I was like, oh, wow, am I really a leader? Or am I just someone who can get people to feel happy about what they're doing? And so tonight, just listening to everyone and processing this again, and I thought, well, you know, adaptability. Even though I have the woo, the communication, positive, and hey, at my school, there's going to be a party and we might have the lowest test scores in the county, but everybody's going to have a party. You know, everybody's going to be having fun doing it. But I think the adaptability part, because when I'm placed in a situation where there needs to be execution, where there needs to be those hard things to get things done, that I can then turn the party off, say, hey, we're gonna get this done. Like I've played for state championship games 4 years in a row. I've won a state championship. I've taken a volleyball team that was just full of basketball players to a state championship. That wasn't because we were having a party. So with all those things, and for a minute, I felt bad about the type of leader that I am, that I shouldn't discount out those qualities or not believe that I can't get it done when it needs to be done because I have, you know, up all this time and just not, for me, not place so much on what my strengths are telling me. Because like I said, my strengths telling me like, hey, we're going to be the funnest school out there, but we're going to be the lowest achieving school. So, and then also the thing is, when I'm weak, you're strong. So I need to have my people around me be like, hey, Shay, pull it back in. Let's get focused. We can have fun on Friday, but Monday through Thursday, we need to be getting stuff done.
Right. Thanks, Shay. And don't ever discount yourself. You're stronger than what you realize, and there's more strengths there than other people see things that maybe you don't even see yourself sometimes. And remember that this is that you're growing into these things, and how you were 2 years ago is not always going to be how you are, you know, from then till now. and you're going to see yourself as you know, I can think back, 66 years old, and I can look back at different stages of my life, and I can see where I have grown and changed, and I still am. At 66 years old, I still find myself, growing, and you'll find yourself, moving. You'll always have those areas that are the more dominant, just like your leadership styles, more dominant. But you will find yourself growing into some of those areas as you mature more in leadership and as you do this. Great job. I'm so proud of all of you for the work that you did with this and for sharing out as you have shared out. I do want to go ahead.
Can I do mine?
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know. I go ahead. I apologize. I thought I had gotten everybody. No. Yes. Go ahead, Stephen.
My top 5 were restorative, individualization, strategic, relator, and analytical. For me, I found that they all went pretty much hand in hand with who I am as a person. Especially with the jobs that I've had in leadership. I was recently hired as the managing director of a nonprofit in Durham, and in past leadership positions as well, my job has always been to come in and restore balance, to learn people as individuals, to create new strategies, implementations of new plans and everything. So what the results that I got is literally what I do in my everyday life, who I am as a person. So I thought it was spot on.
So there were no surprises for you, Stephen?
Yes, the one surprise was I felt like I was going to be strong in communication because I pride myself on being a very communicative person, and the communication was nowhere around it. So that was a big shock.
But it doesn't mean that it's not up there. You could only get your top 5. That doesn't mean that it's not a strong, a strength. It just
True.
wasn't amongst those top 5. But anyway, thank you, Stephen. I'm sorry. I thought I realized I thought I had gotten everybody, but I didn't. But thank you for bringing that to my attention. Again, thank y'all so much for the time and the thought and the effort that you put into this. You did an excellent job, and I'm very proud of you. I want to pull this up. This goes to, before we, Dr. Revis, while I'm pulling this up, anything that you would like to say about assignment 11? Anything about their competencies, their task stream work, anything while I'm pulling this up?
Well, I think we went over assignment 11 in pretty much detail last week. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to entertain those. And as far as your competency folio, I am behind. I know I am. I will catch up and get things, feedback to you as quickly as possible. I apologize. Any questions on assignment 11?
Okay, any questions? I don't know if this is not coming up. I need you to go in black. Go ahead. Anybody?
With assignment 11, just kind of recapping. So based on the competency that Dr. Stemmen, I'm assuming you gave us, you're the one that dictated that. Me and my partner, we will look at one of our school's data, and then determine how to tackle that competency through the data and present a slideshow presentation type, a visual aspect of however we're going to do that based on the data and how we would meet that goal.
Exactly, Sasha. And also, unpacking that competency and making sure you're addressing the pieces of the competency. Okay.
Okay, any other questions? I thought I had this. Look, this is what I want you to do. It's listed under week 11 in Blackboard. there is, anyway, hold just a second. If
I
you could,
see week 11 pulled up.
week
Yeah.
11, well, it's under, that is my week 11 agenda, but I thought
Okay.
that is,
Yeah, okay, I see it now.
that is not going to do it. Let me,
Week 11 is
okay,
officer
okay.
operation management.
Anyway, look under week 11, no. Oh, just a second. Anyway, there's a message from Dr. Stone in there. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna pull it up. Let me go to that.
I saw it in the announcements.
Okay. The message from Dr. Stone in there, and what it is, he's putting together a PowerPoint for our last class. There's 5 questions that you need to answer. It's under week 11, so go up there and find it. There's 5 questions that you need to respond to. Give me just a second. I will find it. It will not be. But you enjoy it. It's just really a way after we do our presentations on that night. It will culminate with something that'll be very special to you. So let me see if I can now. Okay. Now, week 11, session 11. Here it is. If you go in, Dr. Stone needs this, and I want you to send me a copy of that. When you send him this information, I want you to CC me in what you send him as well. But his information is on there. But he's putting together a PowerPoint celebration for our last class. And these are things that he needs: a current picture of you and/or you and your family with all smiles. A brief description of where you work and how long you've been there. Your why in 10 words or less. In other words, your why is what motivates you. And please send this to Dr. Stone as soon as possible. It's just a very positive way that we'll end our class, our last class. Okay. So if you could make sure that he's got that by this Sunday as well as part of your assignments. Okay. With Blackboard, I mean, not with Blackboard, with your evidence work, with the SIOP. Okay, task 5, if you have not completed task 5 is due for a final grade this week. And task 6, which is your 21 competencies and your reflection on them. And remember, I gave you the examples. That is due for review. However, I want you to go ahead and make sure, do your very, very best, because I need for us to do a quick turnaround on task 6. So honestly, task 5 and task 6 are basically due this Sunday. So just work on that. Task 6 is not, it's a little bit time consuming, but it's not hard. And you have to determine, you better say you're competent in all of them, all 21 of them. But anyway, remember, you need to talk about your coursework experience, and you need to talk about your clinical experience with all 21 competencies, and make sure that you say that in my coursework, in my clinical experience, I delineate between the two and make sure that you clear that. Several of you have already completed the SIOP. You've got your scores back, and you're able to work on start working on Dr. Revis's work and these last assignments. One more thing coming up in, we'll come together next week. And then the next week, we will not have, we won't come together, but that means that you can come together. We're going to give you that time to work with your partner, with your team. You can work on our assignment for the last class. That gives you time to focus on that, and then for the competencies that will be going to Dr. Revitz. Just remember, in task stream, at this point, you can go ahead and the School of Ed disposition, the competency analysis, if that's it, you can go ahead and do all that stuff. So, you know, go ahead and knock that out. It doesn't take long to do it, but there is going to be a reflection that you have to do for Dr. Lamb as well that will go into task stream. And we'll talk about that more next week. I'll bring that up next week, but just those few things, and you'll have time to do that because you're just about through with the evidence work. Next week, you'll be through with it. Isn't that a good feeling to know that you're not going to get those emails from me and I'm not going to be harping on you, you know, do this, but I've pushed you and you've done it. That's the good thing. We've done it. And we're just about there, Mary. Just about there. Look at that big smile on Mary's face. Ooh, look at Diary smiling. Look at Rebecca. Rebecca, she sits there solid, but when I say that, Rebecca puts that big smile on her face. But anyway, anything in closing? I'm proud of you.
Everybody go and play the Powerball tonight.
Oh, and Shay, you remember, if you win, you remember I was the best instructor in Dr. Revitz that you've ever had, and just remember us in your will.
I got you. I'll drop you guys an envelope. Don't worry.
Anyway,
I did want to say, kind of recap. I came in the class late when Dr. Laws was talking, but any of you guys that are seriously looking at doing your doctorate, and I know the price, some of you were mentioning it, is higher. When you are shopping around though, even though another program could be cheaper, you'll want to look at the support. So you have already experienced what Gardner-Webb support's like. The emails, Dr. Stedman, Dr. Revitz, hey, we need this. Hey, you'll need that to get through your doctorate. I promise you. Like, you might procrastinate and get a little bit behind, but that little bit when you're working on your doctorate will come a lot quick. So if you're in a program that might be cheaper or what have you, if you don't have that support from your instructors, it's really difficult to stay on track with finishing those 3 years. So I just want to put that sidebar in there.
thank you, Tasha,
You'll
for
want a
sharing
support
that.
program with that.
Thank you for sharing that. And I will tell you, there are programs out there that they may be less expensive up front, but when they hold you hostage, and some of them do, they say, well, this program can be done in 3 years or whatever, but when they hold you hostage for 6, 7, and 8 years,
Yeah, those classes build up and you're going to
that,
be.
you know, those bills. So you've got to think about, well, this program, you know, the grass is not always greener on the other side, as it says. So you have to look at all that. And I can speak for firsthand, and Dr. Revitz can. Gardner-Webb's program is a quality class act program. So, you know, I've done it. I've carried them through to the dissertation that they've defended. I had a cohort. Dr. Revitz is working with it right now. I'm not working with it because I'm working full time doing another job, and I can't take on one more thing in my life hardly. So, but anyway, Sasha, thank you for sharing that.
Dr. Stedman,
Yes.
do you think that they'll ever because for me, I took that drive to Gardner-Webb, and I know I don't have to go that far, but I live in Fayetteville. So even if I wanted to do the program, do you think they'll ever put a cohort closer to us?
There's one in Goldsboro.
How far is that from me?
Goldsboro is it's less than an hour.
Okay.
You're 45 minutes from Clinton, Nari, and Goldsboro is 30 minutes from that.
Okay.
Okay, I drove it. That's where I taught. When
Okay.
I taught in Goldsboro when I was doing the doctoral program It was not a bad drive for me at all. You can take 95 to Smithfield and go there, or you can hit 13 at exit 58. Hit
Mhm.
Highway 13. 13 takes you all the way to Goldsboro.
Okay, okay,
So it's not bad.
okay.
Stephen, thank you for that information as well. But y'all need to think about it, while you're in the mode and why, and all of you are at the stage in your life where it will make a difference. It will make a difference for you. Dr. Rivers, anything in closing?
Well, just to echo what Sasha was saying, I do the coaching piece, and you do have a cohort that you get very close to, much like your Zoom teams, and you depend on each other. But the coaching, you get connected in, and I am chairing. I finished up one cohort, and there were 10 students, and I'm chairing 7 out of those 10. So, in fact, I've got to get off from here and go to a conference with one of my students who's getting ready to defend her proposal in a couple weeks. So, anyway, it's a lot of support, and you do have not only with your colleagues, but also you have that coach who supports you on your dissertation. I wish
Okay.
I'd have had that, Dr. Stedman.
I know it, me too. I didn't have it. If y'all would let Matt and Philip know about the information that we need by Sunday, that's under week 11, since they're not here, okay?
I'm in a group with them, so I can let them both know easily.
Okay, thanks, Erica. Thank you. Well, guys, we'll see you soon. Arias, are you doing well?
I am still waiting.
Still waiting?
Patient.
How much
Yeah.
longer, Arias?
My due date is next Tuesday, hopefully.
Tuesday?
sooner than
Okay, well, we may not see you next Tuesday, but if not, we'll excuse that.
then. Thank you.
Anyway, keep us posted. I know we'll be the last, to think when you can, just send us a picture.
I will.
Just shoot Dr. Revis and me a picture, okay?
Will do.
Okay, you're in our thoughts and prayers.
Thank you.
Okay. Good night, everybody.